So, you just finished watching the show and went through the end of Evangelion. You went through Shinji's mental breakdown, Asuka's rise and fall, Grade 1, 2, and 3. Enjoy all the stories, side stories, twists, and of course, fan service. You put the whole puzzle together and understood the story from beginning to end. Finally, you feel realized. You can just move on with your life. Well, my friend, I am here to tell you, you are wrong. Very, very wrong. Because now there is this, Rebuild of Evangelion. Hideaki Anno's 4-part story based on the show you just watched. How fun is that? Alright, so what? You know there is the manga, video games, and light novels. But you are not into reading or playing games. Well, there is a difference. All of those products are based on the main storyline, and some parts have been accepted into the main continuity. Rebuild, however, is something completely different. It's its own story, with its own characters. Yes, you will see Shinji, Asuka, and Rei in there, and they look pretty much the same. Perhaps. But that does not mean that they are the same characters that you already know. They are actually different ones. In order to understand what Rebuild of Evangelion is, we need to start from the top. And that is the end. Yes, the end of Evangelion. July 1997. The most anticipated movie in anime was finally released. It was a major success. Money was pouring in on insane levels. Hideaki Anno has become a worldwide sensation. But money not only brings freedom, but also problems. In 1999, Takeshi Sawamura, former president of Gainax, was sentenced for tax evasion. And yes, it was because of Evangelion, as government officials were suspicious on how a small anime studio were able to handle a big pile of money. Specifically 1.56 billion yens. Billions with a B. Around 60 million of today's dollars, adjusted to inflation, were not in the books. This was bad news for Anno, as he saw how his legacy was being mishandled by Gainax, a studio that he helped to found. He tried to regain control of it, as he was now paying close attention to every movement on the ledgers. But at this point, he was already unhappy with the mismanagement of not only his property, but also everything else. Gainax was still alive, thanks in big part for Evangelion, as by early 2000s, the pachinko games were very popular. Yes, pachinko, a very popular Japanese version of pinball. He wanted to work on the property he created, as he started to plan on a retelling of his Evangelion story. But Gainax was full of problems. Also had a lot of projects being produced at the time, as he was seeing his legacy vanishing behind all the noise. He finally hit the door and in 2006 founded Studio Khara. Gainax wanted this to be a friendly divorce and stated at the time that the Evangelion franchise belonged to Hideaki Anno. And it was true up to some point. Even though the IP belonged to Anno, Evangelion was the goose of the golden eggs, and Gainax kept distribution and copyrights, giving Anno royalties for it. This is not the end of this story, but for the purposes of this video, let's leave it there. Anno now had freedom. He had money, influence, a self-made name in the industry. He finally was able to make the Evangelion story that he always wanted. Not only animation technology had improved, but now he had the resources to make it come a reality. He then was able to announce to the world his latest work, Rebuild of Evangelion, or as its original title is in Japanese, Evangelion, New Theatrical Edition, a tetralogy in which the first 3 movies were going to be a retelling of the original story, while the 4th one was going to be a whole different ending. At least, that was the original idea. 1 year later, the first movie hit the theaters in Japan, Evangelion 1.0, You Are Not Alone. Its original title being Evangelion, the new movie, Prelude, Ho. So, what exactly is Rebuild of Evangelion? Is it a reboot? Well, yes. And no, we do not know at this point, as the last movie haven't been released yet. Therefore, we do not have the whole story. As far as I am concerned, on the last part of the movie, a flying monkey will descend from the green moon with rainbows and gold connecting the original episodes 25 and 26 to Adam's Soul and Pen Pen, and thus becoming a prequel to the original run. You saw what I did there? I pulled a theory out of my butt, like many theories on YouTube and the internet surrounding the franchise. Nonsense, because reality is we do not know yet. Therefore, Rebuild is neither a reboot or a sequel at this point. It's just another story. Another story in which we can create new theories, takes, and speculations. That's part of the fun. I haven't made a single video on the end of Evangelion on my channel yet for two reasons. Number one, YouTube is oversaturated with that kind of content. And number two, if you understand the film, you will know that it cannot be treated lightly. I wanted for you to understand my perspective on the original run first, before going into the end, which in my opinion is not a happy ending. Not at all, but a tragic one. And not because of that it means that it's a bad movie, because it's not. It's a masterpiece. Just like any of Shakespeare's tragedies, for example. Now for the last part of this video, I am going into spoilers territory. For the first movie. Only the first movie. So, if you haven't watched the first movie yet and you want to go into it completely blind, stop this video, watch the movie, and then come back. You've been warned. Still here? Alright, let's move on. There is a reason why I make strong emphasis on the end of Evangelion, as the first few minutes of Rebuild 1 makes you believe that it's a sequel. As the last time we saw Shinji and Asuka on the end of Evangelion was on a shore with LCL instead of water. Rebuild 1 starts with red water as well, but now the explanation is different. In the original run, seas were still blue, but in Rebuild, water is red. Here is where all the confusion starts, at the early minutes of the film. The community has agreed that this is just a tribute to the legacy of the original storyline, but you can draw your own conclusions. Also, a giant cross can be seen drawn between the ruins. The most popular theory is that Adam, when exploded on the second impact, fell there, but that is open to speculations as well at this point. The first movie notably follows the original episodes 1 through 5, almost on an identical fashion. There are some major differences though. Sakiel, who was the third angel on the original run, now does not have a name anymore, and is only referred to as the fourth angel, which means that not only Adam and Lilith preceded him, but also another angel. In the movie only appears 5 angels: Kaoru as Adam, who is the first one, Lilith the second one, and then we jump to the 4th, the 5th, and the 6th. The third one appears on another movie. Also worth noting that Kaoru went from being the 17th on the original run to the first one. Quite a promotion there, boy. Gendo states that there are only 8 angels to defeat, and we have seen 5 on this movie, including Kaoru. Therefore, not only the characters are different from the main storyline, but also the angels are, which changes the arguments behind the Death Seal Scrolls. There are some major changes made to Seal as well. As the early episodes on the original run, we are introduced to a committee that are in charge for the planning and execution of the Human Instrumentality Program, or project. The head of this program is one Keel Lawrence. Later on in the story, we are revealed that this committee, which seemed like a United Nations one, was actually Seal, and they started to appear on the story as Monolith. The leader is still Keel Lawrence. In Rebuild, however, we never get to see their faces, as they appear only as Monolith. Not only that, but they are actively producing an Evangelion unit on the moon, at their own facilities, the Tapka base, where we see Kaoru for the first time. I am not going to go very deep on what is happening there on this video. We are led to believe that the Moon Giant is either Adam or the real Lilith, as it uses Seal's mask. But earlier Misato introduced Shinji to Lilith on Earth's headquarters, now referred as the Central Dogma, not the Terminal Dogma as the original run. And also Lilith has an angel mask, not Seal's. Not to mention that at this point, Misato not only knows about Lilith's presence in the headquarters, another difference from the main storyline. I can sit here for hours talking about the difference between the original story and Rebuilds, just to make a point. And that is that Rebuild of Evangelion should be treated at this point as its own thing. When watching Rebuild, try to forget what you learned so far in the previous installment, as it is an ongoing story, at least until 3+1 is released next year. Therefore, it cannot be treated as any other way. To be frank, I would love to watch a major twist on the final movie that connects all the stories together, but I don't know if that is the plan or purpose of this tetralogy. Guys, thank you all so much for watching. I am currently on the development of a set of videos regarding Rebuild of Evangelion. If you haven't subscribed yet, consider doing so. Drop a like on this video if you did. Have a wonderful day.